Hello everyone and welcome to This Nintendo Life episode 80. My name is NBZ and we're here again. It's almost the end of the year, Bally. Things are heating up. We're looking in the time of the year of award season, so exciting things are ahead.
Award season's like just in video games, it's just the best. It's so good.
It's pretty good. I mean, to be honest, like most websites are not that interesting. There's one particular one which I would say is the most interesting, but I think everyone can already assume that they know what that is anyway. But yeah, Bally, we're going to be doing our own Game of the Awards things. Game of the Awards? Yeah, that's it.
Game of the Awards, that's what it's all about.
I'm just the most articulate podcast host on the planet. So we are looking for your Game of the Year stuff as well. So if you want to send those in, you can send them to our email address, which is Bally.
ThisNintendoLife@gmail.com. That is ThisNintendoLife@gmail.com.
We will remind you of it at the end of the show as well, but just a heads up for people who listen to the first 5 minutes and then like, nah, I don't want to fucking listen to these assholes. Then yes, you can. There you go. You can send in your Game of the Years. Although not sure why you would want to do that if you're the sort of person who listens for 5 minutes and doesn't listen to anything else, because then you would never hear it. But regardless, Bally, how are you doing? How are things?
I'm doing good. Like, you're right. It's the end of the year. 80 is a nice big landmark. I'm very happy with that. It's a nice big round chunky.
I feel like you say that every 10th episode.
I do, but 80 feels extra special, you know? It's like I don't know. It's very divisible compared to like a 70, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, very true. You can put it in half, you can put it in quarters, and it slices up nicely. It slices up nicely, indeed. So, Bally, how about you? A bit
like the segments of this podcast.
Right. Tell them what we're going to be doing for the rest of the show.
So we're going to be talking about the games that we've been playing. We're going to be talking through some of your listener emails, and then we are going to wrap up in the third segment with some predictions on the Game Awards 2016, which are happening in the upcoming week. Since we are sitting here recording.
It's going to be on the 1st of December, which I believe will be stupid o'clock for us, but probably like 9 p.m. Pacific for normal people in America.
Like when I fell asleep during the Zelda announcement.
Oh god! I mean, let's talk about that in that segment. We'll get to that. Sure. That's fun. Yes, Bally. Let's talk about video games. The hot new release is out, Pokemon Sun and Moon. So of course I didn't buy it. Bally, you of course are taking the reins with this one.
Yeah, talking about Game of the Year and sort of games that came out this year that we've been playing. I picked up another one. I picked up Pokemon Sun. First time I've played a new Pokemon game since Pokemon Pearl. So like, I've just skipped 3 generations and jumping straight in.
I mean, to some extent, you had a level of exposure to 5th and 6th generation through my videos, although that's all battle stuff. That's nothing to do with the main story or anything along those lines. So interested to hear your thoughts as you progress. I know you've not played too much so far.
Yeah, I'm only a couple of hours in, so these are some very quick thoughts. I did play Red earlier this year, and it looks very different from that game. So it really looks and feels like Pokemon. Some initial thoughts. I just think it looks nice, but it just doesn't look as good as you hope it might. Like the colors and things look incredibly flat. Added by the fact that this is in 2D. There's no 3D in this game, even though I own a new 3DS. Not the original 3DS, which is incredibly infuriating because I'm a big fan of the 3D. There's no ability to post to the Miiverse, so the combination of quite a flat art style, lack of 3D, inability to post Miiverse, it all just feels a bit like laziness. I don't know what it is. I mean, maybe
I would maybe remind you that there are rumors circulating that this game is probably going to be on Nintendo's upcoming console, and so removing features such as Miiverse and such as the 3D would maybe make more sense in the context there, Bally. You know, like if they're creating an HD version for their upcoming, new handheld hybrid home console thing, then maybe the reasons that people are giving for, hey, this game is chugging a lot, and the fact that it kind of doesn't distinctively feel that new is because they're making the better version already.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely what is happening, but it still doesn't take away, it doesn't make the fact that this game has got issues any better. And they have like sold this as a 3DS title. They've not mentioned officially anything Switch related yet.
I mean, of course they're not going to, because that would cannibalize the sales of their own products.
Exactly, but it is a bit frustrating and I just think Game Freak can be very lazy when it comes to that.
I don't like using the word lazy when it comes to game development, because I think it's a very assumptive assertion to make, given that games are incredibly fucking difficult to make, and it's a miracle that any of them come out.
Wrong word, but not keeping up with their competitors, let's say.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of games out on 3DS that look fantastic, run in 3D, go at 60. Like, there are benchmarks to be hit. But I don't know. Do you think that if this game were in 3D, it would look substantially better? Because for me personally, I think that's a big issue. Is like, even games like Fire Emblem, which I think look amazing, if I turn the 3D off, it doesn't leap off the page. You know, it just feels very, very different.
Yeah, like the second that you do implement that 3D effect on the 3DS, especially with the new 3DS and the larger ones, the XLs, it looks incredibly deep at times. And in a sort of open world game like Pokemon is, where there's very big sort of vistas and scenes everywhere, it would benefit, RPGs in general benefit, I think, from having some sort of depth in them like that through the 3D and stuff. Like, you'd played Yokai Watch. I've not played it, but from what I've seen, it looks fantastic. And like, it's very frustrating that it does look like this, but I mean, there's nice things, like you can run diagonal now. Like, I've not played a Pokemon since you can run diagonal. That's great.
You can run literally anywhere now. I believe X and Y still limited you to 8 directions, I think.
Oh,
I can't
really?
100. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it did that. So this is actually, after 7 generations, now you can just use the circle pad and move around space.
But stuff like the menus, the maps, the ability to check all your stats in the Pokedex and all this, it feels incredibly streamlined. Like, it really does feel like, wow, only a couple of clicks away. When you're in battles now, it tells you which moves are super effective, which is quite nice because it saves.
Do you think you're going to find that helpful? Because I know you know a lot of these ins and outs.
I know the main ones.
Right.
I think it'll be helpful for some of the typings I'm not used to and the matchups I'm not used to. Definitely.
Yeah, totally.
So at the same time, it can maybe give away the typing of the enemy, but I don't know.
I think the way it works is you have to fight them once, and then after you've defeated them, then you know what all their weaknesses are. So, like, say you're going up against I don't know, I guess there's no gym leaders in this game, but like going up against a Pokemon that's very strong that you've never fought before, you're not going to know its weakness straight out the gate. You're going to have to work around it, and then maybe if you encounter it later, then you'll be able to deal with it. So it's a good compromise, I think, because it allows a lot of people, I think, feel scared of jumping into Pokemon because of all that matchup stuff that they have to memorize and have a chart for beforehand. It just reduces barrier to entry in a good way.
Yeah, definitely. And some other like initial cool things I thought, like, this game has pretty awesome like fully animated cutscenes at points, which are like nice, and like it's an intriguing story so far, considering it's Pokemon. Like, right. I think the theming around the Alolan Islands is great so far. I think it's feeling like that sort of Orange Islands game that everyone wished for back in the day that never came.
I think that's interesting as well, because I believe the Orange Islands had this kind of 4-island structure, or at least you needed to get the 4 gym badges for that championship. So
I don't believe the leaders on those islands were called gym leaders either. I think they were called something else. But
okay,
it wasn't. In any case, even if they were called gym leaders, you didn't fight them in a traditional match.
Right.
And this game is playing on that a bit, which is nice. So I'm intrigued. I'm sort of looking out for who to get into my team. I'm wanting that Alolan Raichu. I think it looks so cool. So
that does look really great. No, I'll agree with you. I do think that my favorite designs of this new stuff tend to be the Alolan forms of the older stuff.
They look cool.
And I'm not sure if that's because those older generations had designs that were necessarily better, but they're more memorable, right? And I think like twisting them actually gives it a freshness that just brand new random new Pokemon doesn't have. Like, I've been playing a little bit on Showdown of just figuring out the competitive stuff, and a lot of these Pokemon just look like nothing. They just look like these weird amalgamations of, robotic stuff and just fish life, and I don't know. It just they don't jump out at me as having that much personality. But of course, that's me looking at a screen which doesn't have full animation and is not in the context of the game. So it's hard for me to really give a judgment.
I mean, in terms of a couple that I've already got, so I started with Rowlet. How could you not? Like, he's just
absolutely.
Great. So that's one really cool new design. I also got this other dude called like Picky Peck or Pick a Peck or something, and it I looked up like its evolutions and stats, and it evolves in, it's like the Pidgeot equivalent, equivalent, and it evolves into this like big ass toucan, which looks quite cool. So I'm probably going to stick with those two. There's some like bug electric type that I can pick up that's pre-evolution for at the moment. I'm also going to go with and like I said, Raichu. Dragonite is in this game, so I'm very happy.
You've got to go for that, don't you?
I'm going to go for that. So
well, here's the thing, Battle. You already raised a big-ass Dragonite on Pokemon Red, and I think soon they're going to give you the ability to transfer that stuff into the game. Would you be interested in taking your team from Red, bringing them into the new game?
Yeah, that'd be really cool, actually. Yeah. I think, I was quite happy with his moveset, even though I can't remember what it is now. But, I just think it's more Pokemon, but it looks great. I think the polish is great. I think Pokemon, as much as I think that if I'd played everyone between now and this game, I would be burned out. But it's a bit like Animal Crossing. Like, just because you've missed out on it for a while doesn't mean that the formula is any weaker. Like, this is an incredible formula, and I've got so much more to play. Obviously, I'm only a couple hours in, so I'm going to talk about this game a lot more.
How much were you following the news cycle of Pokemon Sun and Moon? Because I know a lot of people were frustrated at the fact that Nintendo were publishing videos all the time, constantly. Here's a new Pokemon, watch this, see this. Did you insulate yourself from that? And as a result, do you think that it's been a fun time so far, just coming across a Pokemon you've never seen before and being surprised?
Yeah, like I am enjoying that sort of feeling of being surprised. I think I saw the initial trailer, which had very little in it, and then because, like you said, there were so many videos, I was like, I cannot be bothered to watch all these videos. I'm just gonna, not through trying to hide myself massively, but also I just wasn't interested in hearing and seeing every little tidbit until the game comes out. So like, there's a lot of fresh stuff, and it's nice. So it's cool. I'm really glad to be like in Pokemon again and like playing it, and it's cool. And I've got so much more to say on this game, but I need to play it first. So
absolutely, we'll give you the time.
Those are my first thoughts. And then very quickly, I've also been playing another very long game, Fire Emblem Fates Conquest. So obviously you played the trilogy this year, MBZ. I've only played Birthright so far, and I'm about maybe 12 hours in. I've just completed chapter 11. So I know that you're not a fan of the story, and I think that I'm sort of enjoying this story about as much as Birthright. I think that it's nice that you're seeing a lot more of King Garen, and obviously the
I will say I do think Conquest's story is probably more interesting to me than Birthright's. I mean, it's stupid because it paints your main character as a fucking moron who can't really tell what's going on. But like, if you put that to the side, I just think it comes from a more interesting angle of you trying to kind of root things out from the inside, as opposed to Birthright, which was like, okay, it may make more sense logically, but also it's generic and boring because it's, hey, let's beat the bad guys, Like, I found Conquests a bit more appealing from that perspective. Yeah,
and like King Garen and the Nor family, I do think are quite interesting, and it's cool. I definitely agree with you about the game feeling more traditional based on the types of units. So like like Knights, for example. I think she's called Effie.
Effie is like one of the best characters in the game.
Yeah, she's
so
great.
Good.
I can't remember who I've paired her with. I think some
Arthur were you using? I think you said.
Oh, Arthur died. So,
right. I remember. Yeah, you were like,
I struggled
just
a bit
left
with
these
it.
people behind.
Chapter 10, I lost Baruka and Arthur, and then I was like, I really don't want to restart this chapter. Do I have other axe users? Right, I've got Camilla. Shall I just play on? I think I'll just play on. And like, it was a tight call, but like, I've now got units like Kaze, who I know is very good and stuff. So I want to incorporate them into my team, and I'm limping on. I'm not saying I'm down and out yet, but and I'm still on classic, I should also add. But yeah, the more traditional units is quite nice because just they're basically like tanks, and there's a lot more bottlenecks and a lot more strategic play, obviously, with much tougher missions. And it's nice to just stick a heavyweight boom in the middle, knowing that they can take a lot of hits. And you were right where Birthright there, you feel a lot more open and exposed and fragile, and it's nice to have more traditional units to just bullet sponges, basically.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think this game is tougher. I
mean, you beat Chapter 10 first time, which I will give you is an achievement. You lost
did
two characters.
I say first time? I think No, I did do it first time. You're right.
Yeah, you told me. You were like, I mean, I lost these two characters, but I did it first time. And I'm like, well, it's very impressive. Like, I played Chapter 10 maybe 7 or 8 times.
Whoa.
And, you know, it was one of those things where I really loved doing that because, as far as I was concerned, the map design was just so smartly done, and the units were never like super overwhelming, but I always like did something a little dumb and lost someone for some stupid reason, and it was great for me personally. And I think this is why I loved Conquest so much, is taking a map on, knowing that I'm not going to beat it first time. Sometimes I did, but like on tougher maps, knowing that I wasn't going to beat it first time, and slowly learning the map and figuring out when do reinforcements come and how should I position people. And it basically just boiled down to, you know, planning a strategy, knowing what was already coming. And I think that's a lot of Fire Emblem, like older Fire Emblem, that I enjoyed that aspect of. And it just it gives this memorability to the maps that Birthright just doesn't have for me whatsoever.
Yeah. And I think on a very basic level, I am just gradually getting a bit better at Fire Emblem, really. I'm a bit more careful. I feel units a lot better where they should go and how to act. I don't agree with you on the massive gap between Birthright and Conquest. I know you think that they're like one of the best and one of the worst Fire Emblem games ever. They're much more middling for me. I really enjoy Birthright and where's my mind going? Birthright and Conquest. I enjoy them almost the same. I will side with you. I do think Conquest is more strategic. The levels are better designed. I think, like I said, I'd enjoy the story a little more. But I also think Birthright is a really good game, actually. So I'm not in hugely agreement with you on that one, but I've got a lot more to play of this game.
Yeah, you are only at Chapter 11, and I will say a lot of the maps that you've done are Birthright maps still, like the ice map, and there was, I think, maybe one or two others. Early on in the game, you're very much doing maps you've already, like the Rainbow Stage is the one you just did, right? Which is also a Birthright map. So I would be more interested when you get further down the line and you maybe see what some of the new maps have to offer, because they're much more interesting from my perspective.
So yeah, I'm at the start or near the start of 2 really big long games that I'm probably not going to complete until the new year. But that's all I've been playing. I've been quite busy. But MBZ, what have you been up to?
Yeah, well, I've been relatively busy as well. It's been essay time for me, and it's just
old essays.
I don't want to live right now, frankly. But that's the lot that I've drawn. But I have been playing some stuff. Over the last however many months since it came out, Dragon Quest VII, which I haven't really talked about because I was playing, Phoenix Wright, and I was playing Revelation to finish that. So my 3DS was basically on this build-up that I just had to clean out. It was really clogging itself, and I was like, fucking get the plunger, in we go. Take all this shit out of it, had to be done. And I'm focusing more on Dragon Quest VII now. So it is really cool. I think it's a really fun game, and is the sort of thing that I feel like I can dip into and out of relatively easily. And the reason I say that is it is structured like a TV show, in the sense that the whole grand idea of Dragon Quest VII is you live on this one island, and this one island exists in the middle of an ocean with nothing else in it. Absolutely empty. And you think you're the only living creatures still on the Earth, and the plot basically develops in the sense that you find these fragments, and the fragments get put into this shrine, and they create maps of different islands. And so what you have to do is collect these fragments, create the platform, and then it's like, oh, a new island appeared. But the island appears in the past. So bit of, not necessarily time travel. I guess it is time travel because you're going back in time and coming back. Bali's favorite thing. But you basically, the whole idea is go back in time, fix the problem of the island, come back to the future, see what happened in the future of the island and if anything's changed, and then repeat the process. So it is a very structured, like, do this island, come back to the future, do the next island, come back to the future. So I really enjoyed that aspect to it, especially at the start, because at the very beginning of the game, these islands and the miniature stories that go on within them are very short. They're very much boiled down to take 1 hour out of your day and just play through this island, you know? Like, it's condensed and done in a sense that, like, so far it doesn't really seem like there's a grander storyline. I imagine that there'll be some big bad revealed soon, because, I mean, I'm 25 hours in, so you'd hope that something, like, kind of, makes itself appear at some of that stage in time, but it does feel like the storyline. I don't know. People have said 70 hours at a minimum.
Do you go into games not knowing broadly like how long they are?
No, I do.
Like, I'm just gonna keep on going, and
of course I do. But look, both of us check fucking how long to beat for anything we ever play
religiously.
But the thing is, like, it depends on how you play it. Some people are over 100. The original Dragon Quest VII was supposedly over 100 hours. This one's more streamlined, basically. So
it's only 90.
Yes, only 90. No, there's 70 probably at a rush, or if you're not grinding constantly and going off and doing side things. It doesn't seem to be a huge amount of side things. But getting back to the idea of the island structure itself, is what they do is each island has its own mini narrative. So you go there and you're like, oh, all these people are frozen in stone. What is going on here? And you find there's one person left in the village who was inside when this, like, acid rain came down and turned them all into stone. And you figure out that, oh, this thing has to be done. You have to get this potion, which you then drop on them and they all come back to life. But then there was also this evil in the mountain that you have to beat. So it's very simple storyline wise. You know, it's never breaching, like, very deep subjects, but I think the writing is just very sharp. It's really smartly done, and it really shines out in the dialects, because each island, every character is basically written from the perspective of they are from a specific place in our world, you know? So, like, you'll go to the French island and it is written as if, I guess, English people would imagine the French to speak if they spoke English, you know, very anglicized French, and the writing, the dialogue on the screen is reflective of that. Like, it is very well done. There's even French phrases thrown in and stuff like that. But it gets down to this even deeper level where there are islands which are, like, specific dialects from England. So, like, you'll have the Yorkshire island where they're written in the way that if you read it in that accent, it will sound authentic to that particular place, which I just thought was so smart. And
how
they
do all this if they're, like, all, you know, Japanese developers and all this? They've really gone out their way to.
Yeah, I would be really interested to see how the Japanese did it, because obviously they would be taking it from their perspective of all these places, right? And I would imagine that in cases like where they're doing Yorkshire dialects and things like that, I would imagine in the Japanese it would be like, hey, this is a Kyoto dialect, or a somewhere else, you know, a Tokyo dialect, you know. I would imagine they would stick more to their own regionality, but obviously in localization you can't really do that. You could probably, like, do generic French, but you couldn't do and I imagine in all languages it would be this way, right? Because it's the English version, the European version. I'm not sure who localized it. I would imagine it would be like a European localization house, because if it were done
about Yorkshire.
Yeah, if it were done in America, you would imagine it to be like specific American regions, you know? And there's definitely more British stuff here than there is other places. So I don't know how that shakes out. It's an interesting question, though. I'm glad you brought that up. But all I'll say is that, like, it's smartly done. It's well written. It's just dense. It's packed with people and NPCs, and to some extent, there's a trouble that it can't really get over, which is there are so many characters and there are not enough different character models. So there's basically every island will be populated by the same 6 or 7 character models that you see everywhere else across the world. So it doesn't necessarily give you that sense of place, because the old guy in the yellow shawl is the same old guy in the yellow shawl across all time and history, you know? Like, it's just, the character is a different character, but they look the same. And that's a resource thing, that's an asset thing, of course, but it kind of maybe boots you out of the timing and the place a little bit. Not that it's a bad thing, but it's just a limitation of the system. So yeah, from a story perspective and from a structure perspective, I think it's really good. And the other elements they're pretty much standard Dragon Quest. The battles are very basic. You have your standard attacks, you have some magic, and then you have like side abilities. And your abilities kind of get more varied and interesting once you hit the 20-hour mark, because that's when you unlock the classes. So you can have like a mage or a warrior or a thief or whatever, and they change their appearances depending, so your characters will look different depending on what class you choose. And the way it works is leveling up a class is independent to leveling up your own standard level experience. I don't know, it's very difficult to differentiate there, but the number of battles you participate in with your class will be like, okay, I'm like 5 stars, but you need to reach 8 stars to like max it out and get all the abilities. As you level up your class, you unlock different abilities, basically. So that's how that stuff works. And it's essentially the idea of, I'm going to be a warrior for a little while until I max it out. And then once I've maxed it out, I'll have all these abilities. But when I change to a different class, I'll still keep all those abilities, right? So you're basically just soaking everything in. It allows you to just change when you want to, and it means that you're never kind of stuck in one thing, but you always retain the abilities you learned. So that's great, and it's very helpful. And I don't know how much I'm going to be using all of those, because it feels like I'm collecting a ton of abilities, and it just doesn't, I'm not well versed in Dragon Quest, so I don't know like which are the good ones and what's one that I should keep versus one that I shouldn't really worry about most of the time. And I do wonder that a lot of the times with RPGs is, the thing with Pokemon is I'm so in deep with that franchise that I know exactly what is good and what isn't. And in other RPGs, I'm just like, I don't know, this lightning bolt seems cool, I'll keep that. I don't know, I just don't really know what is effective and what isn't. So it's very much kind of that going on in my head. But yeah, I mean, battles are fine. They're interesting. Hasn't been too tough so far. I've done a little bit of grinding, and I like that from time to time. If I'm listening to a podcast, just run around and level things up. And especially with the class system, as soon as I got it, I was like, okay, I'm not going to come back to this island for a little while, and this is the island I have to go to change my class. So I just ran around killing things, and the level up of the class system is based on the number of battles you do, as opposed to the amount of experience you gain. So I just did however many and maxed out 3 classes with my 3 characters, and then just changed them again, and I went off on my adventure. So it's just fun. It's good fun. I'm enjoying it. And I should say, visually, it's very impressive. Much more impressive than Pokemon. Surprisingly so, because this game is 3 years old. It came out in Japan in, I believe, February of 2013. So it took its fucking time getting here. It's sweet-ass time getting here. But we have it now, finally. There's specifically this moment last night where I had to reawaken this green kind of dragon thing that is kind of acts like a Lapras that you jump on it and you go to some other area. And the moment, like the cutscenes for that stuff looked gorgeous. Like it erupts from the water, the 3D is in full force, it's so colorful and bright, and the art style it's not necessarily cel shaded, but it has elements of that, embedded into it, and it's the Akira Toriyama Dragon Ball Z art style. So any kind of dragon or monster design looks fantastic when it's rendered that way, in my opinion. I know people don't like Toriyama, but I personally, as someone who grew up on Dragon Ball Z, I'm a fan of what he does. So yeah, overall, I'm at the start of the game, so I'll talk to you when I'm finished it and see. But yeah, I feel like I've got a good idea of what this game is, and I like it. So good stuff. The other thing is I finally finished up Oracle of Ages, Legend of Zelda Oracle of Ages, which I think maybe we can talk about a bit more in depth when you play it, Bally. But sure. As I said before, I was playing this along with Nintendo Capri Sun's Let's Play, and again, a weird experience overall. It's it's one of those things where there are moments when he will figure something out almost instantaneously, and I'm like, whoa, man, that's really good, because I wouldn't figure that out for like 10 more minutes. So I'm glad that you just did that for me, because otherwise I may have got frustrated and had to look up a guide. But it's basically playing with a guide constantly on, so that's neat. But then there's also moments when he completely fucking misses something, and I'm like, come on, Tim, this is obvious. I just did this, you know? Like, it's this funny back and forth that only involves me.
But that's what happens when you have the record button going when you're doing a Let's Play. Your brain goes into a different mode and you forget stuff.
Yeah, it totally does. So I just found it a really weird experience. And especially as I talked about before with the editing, like, he'll fuck up and I'll also have followed him down this road of, oh shit, we fucked up real bad. And then he just cuts to like, okay, so I've did that. And I'm like, fuck, now I have to go and figure out where you went to undo this mess that we created together. But the one thing that does mitigate that is I have save states at my disposal. Yeah. So whenever I feel like we're at a crossroads or I feel like I'm in a good position, I'll make a save state. And so if Tim does go down a road where he fucks up, I'm like, all right, man, I'm rolling this back. All right, I'm going back to my save state, and we're gonna start over. But there's a lot of pausing and stopping. I think generally it was easy enough to follow along. But it did get to that point in dungeons where you have dungeons which are reminiscent of Link's Awakening in their obtusity. It's not as bad as Link's Awakening is, but there is one particular one which is like Ocarina's Water Dungeon, only because it's in 2D, it's much more difficult to get your head around where things are, for me personally anyway. And so you have like 3 different water levels that you have to, chop up and down, and that got a little bit messy, but I think overall it worked out fine. And I think the game's good. I actually really enjoyed playing it. It just, sometimes it feels a bit more laborious than fun, like especially some of the overworld stuff and opening dungeons up. It feels like it takes more time than it should do. And there is some interesting interplay with the time mechanic, because obviously this is Oracle of Ages, so you're basically having this harp that takes you back in time. And initially it starts out you can only go back in time on these certain spots, and then you basically upgrade it to the point where you can just warp back and forth at your will, which makes things much easier later on in the game. But it doesn't really do too much interesting with it. Like, I felt like I got more confused than was having fun a lot of the times, because there are moments where it's like, okay, so this plant in the past, I can move it, and in the future, it will grow into a vine. So I need to move it across this area to make sure it is at the right angle to when I go back there, it will now be a vine so I can climb up it. Which in theory is smart and cool, but in practice, sometimes getting back to where you were is a little bit more awkward than you would like it to be.
That's interesting, because with the seasons, you basically have your 4 seasons, and the vine only appears in, I believe it's summer or spring. I think it's summer.
Okay.
So it's a bit more simplistic, and although generally from people's reactions online, people seem to prefer Oracle, I believe, but they actually think
which Oracle?
They think that the time travel is a weak point, and they prefer the season mechanic.
You mean Ages? You said Oracle, so
Oracle,
they're both called Oracle.
LOL. Yeah, people, while they prefer Ages over Seasons, they think the sort of Seasons mechanic is better than the Ages mechanic for time travel.
Yeah, and I mean, they don't really use the time travel thing in dungeons apart from once. There's one instance, I believe I can't remember what it's called. It might be like an underwater mermaid cavern thing, and you go into the past version and you have to fix things which will allow you to progress in the future version, basically. And there's not that much involved with it. It's just, hey, get to this part in the dungeon until you feel like I can't do anything anymore, and then go back and fix it. So maybe a bit more of that would have been interesting. I can see how it would get really confusing, which is probably why they didn't do it more frequently, because it can become a bit of a mess. But yeah, there are some really neat things about Oracle of Ages, and I think in particular the seed shooter is probably my favorite aspect. It allows you to do these like wall bouncing puzzles where you're angling the seed shooter and shooting it off angles to hit buttons, and then all the different seeds kind of have different attributes to them. So there's the burning one, which lights things on fire. There's the miracle seed, which you can use on owls to get more information. And then there's like scent seeds, which are used very interestingly at times to draw enemies towards you so that they like run off a cliff automatically, killing themselves, and thus like opening a door or whatever. So overall, like, that stuff is great, and it basically gives you multiple abilities in one package. So, like, the Pegasus boots is just, hey, I'm just going to pop one of these pills, and suddenly I'm going fast. And then there's the wind one, which basically acts as a teleport, a fast travel. The fast travel stuff is handled really well. You can basically just go wherever you've been before when one of these trees are, and no issue whatsoever. So a lot of like the exploratory aspects, I think, are actually handled much better than Link's Awakening. Just getting around feels easier, and it's more colorful. And I think generally the dungeons are more interestingly designed. They're not quite at the level of a Minish Cap, but I would disagree with you, and I think that this game is far closer to Minish Cap than you were making it out to be. I definitely see that. So. Yeah, I see the seeds of design, especially in a lot of the puzzle stuff, that feels more evolved than Link's Awakening was. And it doesn't go the full mile, but it's a respectable Zelda. These games really do feel like the meat and potatoes Zelda. It's just like, hey, it's a Zelda game. It's not amazing. It's not the worst thing you've ever had, but it's a Zelda game.
Potatoes are some of the best meat and potatoes.
Yeah, they are. They are totally. And I liked it. I don't know. There's weird stuff in there. There's like kangaroos and fucking bears with wings, and you turn into a mermaid. Like, from a visual perspective, it certainly does some strange stuff, and I can appreciate that weirdness because I don't think Zelda goes super weird a lot of the time, and I think Capcom kind of had the ability to just shake it up a little bit. So.
And we've now got 2 more Zeldas each to play before totally. Breath of the Wild for our big...
I think I'm going to play Seasons along with Nintendo Capri Sun again because that was fun. I enjoyed doing it. And
I think I'm going to go Majora next and then finish on Ages. So
see, that's the thing. I want to finish on Majora. I want to put that actual big 3D Zelda at the end. So
yeah, I just don't want to go 3D Zelda into 3D Zelda, I think.
Okay, I mean, they're going to be very... I feel like Majora's Mask and Breath of the Wild are probably 2 of the most different
Oh, no, they're
games.
Definitely the same game, Emize. You don't understand.
Okay. All right. Well, clearly,
I mean, Breath of the Wild is going to be so far away that you're right. We could just... It doesn't matter. But anyway,
it doesn't matter.
It's going to be good. It's going to be good.
My notion is I don't want to finish on a fart in the wind. I feel like Seasons could be a fart in the wind. Like, not that it's going to be bad, but like it's not going to be that resonant thing. And I think Majora might do that. So we'll see. I think that's pretty much it. I will quickly say I properly beat Castlevania Symphony of the Night, which has been a long time coming. I beat it with the bad ending 2 years ago. I believe it was 2014, and I loved the game. I thought it was fantastic, and I just left it hanging there. And there's a whole second half of the game, which is going through the upside down castle, finding all the pieces of Dracula, and then fighting Dracula. Maybe I'll talk about it a bit more next time. But it was cool, and I'm glad I've actually done the proper ending of Symphony of the Night now. So there you go. That's that. Those are the videos we were playing. And don't go anywhere because we're going to be back after the break. Some of your listener emails. So stay tuned.
It is time for the second segment, and the second segment, more often than not, means it's time for some listener emails. So we've got a few lined up, but before I get into those, I must remind you of our email address. We always need more. The address is thisnintendolife@gmail.com. That is thisnintendolife@gmail.com. Please send them in. We always need more. Our first email this week is from Acerbis. MBZ and Bally, I've noticed recently, particularly with Pokemon Sun and Moon, that gaming sites tend to get series veterans to review games. This is almost certainly what they should be doing. However, I have become increasingly aware that this is slowly leading to reviews tending to answer the question, is the game better than the last in the series, over is this game actually any good? Anyway, here's my somewhat related question. Do you think that games should be reviewed in a vacuum on their own merits, potentially by a series novice, or do you think that the context provided by a series veteran is more important? I recognize the answer, if it exists, is probably somewhere in the middle. Thanks for the podcast, Acerbis.
Very interesting question, this. And one that I don't think many people give the time of day. And I think when I say many people, I mean kind of the internet masses who flock to a video review and are like, oh, this fucking review is shit, and oh, this website gave this a bad score. Yeah. Because I think like most of the time, your average consumer doesn't give consideration to the person reviewing the game, right? Like, they'll go to the website or to the video and they'll be like, oh, IGN, why did you give this game this when you gave its predecessor this? Clearly, this one is better. Why is that one? And they don't understand that maybe someone else reviewed that game and maybe times have changed and you can't really necessarily say the same things anymore, even if it was the same person. So it becomes this real problem. And I think it's very interesting because Jeff Gerstmann talked a little bit about this, where in the old days of GameSpot, they were left in a situation where if they had reviewed a game and given it a certain score and then ended up reviewing another game in the series and thought it was better, they had to basically give it a better score. Like, no matter the context, no matter what the vacuum was, that was like the kind of the law of the land, which in context and in foresight looks stupid now. But, you know, that's the way game reviewing was back then. It's very different now. Like, the way game reviews used to be, they're very, very consumer focused. I mean, still are to some degree now, but I feel like they're more critical and more analytical and less producty, if you know what I mean. Like, they used to boil things down to, this is the graphics, this is the sound category, we must give, you know, numbers out of however much. Like, and it felt much more product-based. And I think I'm maybe getting a bit away from the question, however, which is, do we think they should be reviewed in a vacuum, or whether someone who's already played it is more interesting?
I think it's a really, really tough question, actually.
Yeah, totally.
And I think a really important point is that, and we've mentioned this a number of times on the show, that we're not massive fans of like hard review scores necessarily. No. We still love reviews. We love discussions. That's what it's all about. And I think if I'm coming into a game and unsure about it, say I knew nothing about Pokemon and I want to find out about Pokemon Sun and Moon, I don't really want to hear from a Pokemon expert. I'd rather hear from someone who only knows a little bit about Pokemon, because I would have more faith in that person to describe their experience and their first impressions in a more easy to understand way than someone who's perhaps an expert in Pokemon and does a constant comparison with the previous games. So I think that if you're a novice in this series, you maybe want to hear from someone like yourself. But at the same time, if you know everything about Pokemon and you want to hear what's new for Sun and Moon, you absolutely would prefer to hear from an expert. I think that your suggestion, service of having like somewhere between the two is definitely right, really. I think that it really does depend, and we definitely give a lot more respect to, we consider ourselves, we're Nintendo experts. So like when we hear someone who knows a lot about Nintendo games, like someone like Jose Otero from Nintendo Voice Chat, when he says something good about a Nintendo game, I listen a lot more to him than someone like, I don't want to throw someone under the bus, so I won't name a name, but I think that there are plenty of people who maybe haven't played as many Nintendo games or haven't played many modern Nintendo games. When a new Nintendo game might come along, they play it, oh, this is terrible, oh, I don't trust them as much because they've just not played many Nintendo games. And I know that someone who has played a lot of Nintendo games will have a more similar opinion to myself. So that's what I would personally look for.
Right. It basically comes down to the eye of the beholder. It's when you are looking for criticism of a game, you very much want to come at it with someone who has the perspective that is most similar to yours. And I think Pokemon's an interesting example because there really aren't any reviewers out there, aside from maybe one, I would say, who can provide the context for a new Pokemon game that I am personally interested in. And I think it was very interesting because Kat Bailey over at US Gamer, she reviewed Pokemon X and Y for Shack News back in the day. And I thought that review was excellent. And the reason was because Kat had played competitive Pokemon, and she had played it since the early days of 3rd gen. She knew what competitive Pokemon was, and she understood like the ins and outs of it and what was important about that for the person who wanted to get into the game from that level. And so that review served me in a way that it would serve no one else. So yeah, there is absolutely a place for absolute veterans and absolute novices to exist, but I think the way it happens most of the time is that review sites will tend towards someone who knows the series. I think part of the reason for that is they want to get a good sense of everything that is part of that game, and they want to really see if they can dig into it and understand everything about it. I think you particularly will find that with the Dark Souls series, where those games are infamous for their challenge, and there is a certain type of person who is very good at those games and likes those games and understands the real deeper elements of them. And so generally you're going to try and lean on a reviewer who has got the context, who knows what's going on. But yeah, it depends on the time and place, obviously, and there are certain circumstances where it doesn't really matter. Like, there are certain games which I feel have a more mass mainstream appeal, something like, an Uncharted, which I don't think you necessarily... Those games aren't really deep enough for you to have a deeper appreciation of them at a level that certain games do. So, the examples of Pokemon and Dark Souls, clearly they have superficial levels, but also they go much deeper. But there are certain series which don't offer that kind of variability and scalability. So it matters less.
And obviously, like with new IPs, for example, something like Splatoon, there's never going to be experts on Splatoon because... Right. It just came out. I mean,
but maybe you have the context of someone who knows the online shooter and can understand and appreciate what Splatoon does to subvert that trait and what it does to kind of build on it and what it does to be in line with what is good about those other games. So every time you're kind of benefiting something, and I think generally, it's probably better to have someone who knows what they're talking about. But there are circumstances where you may not want that deeper dive. And I can understand that perspective. So
our next email is from Ryan, who's from Chicago. Hello again, Bally and NBZ. I just heard NBZ talk about getting the PS4 Slim. Hope you're enjoying it. We got a PS4 earlier this year as a wedding shower gift, and I've really enjoyed it. Anyway, on to my question. Now that you've finished another classic game in Earthbound, do you notice all the different ideas in newer games pulled from older classics compared to a few years ago? I always find it interesting to see how many ideas are tweaked to furnish a new game and how it can be integrated pretty well. Cheers, Ryan from Chicago.
On the topic of the PS4, I guess I have enjoyed it. I wish I had more games to play on it. But yeah, I guess it's cool. I think PS4 is a good video game system. In terms of the question, this is an interesting one, Bally, because a lot of our podcast is, as we mention all the time, going back and playing older things and kind of realizing trends and traits that maybe we can more thoroughly appreciate with the lens of time. Is there anything specifically that you have found, like, by going into the archives that has really elevated that sense of, now I really recognize when I come to this kind of game, this is where it originated from, and do you have more respect for it?
I mean, definitely playing the 3D Zeldas and then going back to some of the earlier Zeldas like Link's Awakening, Link to the Past, definitely those structures were very interesting, the way that it was like, oh, right, that's where this came from and those sort of things. But then I also did the reverse where, for example, with Metroid, I played Super Metroid before Metroid Prime. And that was just incredible to like see how they turned something 2D into like this huge 3D world that still had the same sense of like, eeriness and atmosphere. And that was just, everyone knows how much I love Metroid Prime, so I won't go there. But those are a couple of very straightforward examples. I think playing the original Mario Bros was like just when it came on the 3DS with the Ambassador program. I'd never really gone back like properly and played the first Mario Bros, and I did that, and it was quite interesting to see. Wow, Mario's come a really, really, really long way since this game that it feels really janky and horrible and all these things. And, yeah.
But I think like when you look at that game, there are enough recognizable elements there of what Mario is at its very core. Like the power-up system, the jumping and the flag, the enemies that are introduced which still exist in some form today. Like there are blueprints that I think were so solid and good ideas at the time that they just have stuck around, and that's impressive. So, do
you have any key examples, perhaps, MBZ?
Yeah, I think for me, it definitely comes down to RPGs, because those are a lot of the kind of games from the past in recent years that I've dug into. And so I think games like Chrono Trigger, where, a lot of items that you pick up and things like that have very much been like, oh, well, I'd see where in this newer game, like a Golden Sun, where they would, take something like that and implement it, or in, I guess, newer Final Fantasies, having played Final Fantasy VII, it's like, okay, these are the level up mechanics, and these are the kind of, the battle system of the ATB and everything. That's definitely something that, they've kind of got rid of in recent games, but it had a place back then, and it was good for a reason, so they kept using it for as long as they could. I don't know. I definitely find it more interesting to see how games have evolved from that stuff, as opposed to elements that they have retained. And I think like that's probably more important to me, I guess, than being like, oh, this is cool because this is a thing,
And like Ryan mentioned, like we've just played Earthbound, and I've now put in this year, I'm in the process of obviously playing Pokemon Sun, but I've played Pokemon Sun, Pokemon Red, and Earthbound, and like these three games are sort of all linked in a funny way, where Earthbound did so much to sort of inspire what Pokemon became, and then obviously 7th gen compared to 1st gen, and I thought we've already talked about it massively with our Earthbound retrospective backlog club, and everyone should definitely check that out. But we mentioned so many things linked to Pokemon in that game that just brought the whole RPG genre into something away from fantasy, which hadn't really been done before.
Sure. Yeah, no, that was definitely probably the biggest revelation of doing that. And yeah, I'm not sure I've had as many of those moments in other games. It really stuck out in that one particularly. I think probably particularly because we as kids had played so much Pokemon that it's one of those things that's more like just integrated into our mind. So it stuck out. But I don't know. I feel like this will grow and get more prevalent the more older games we play. But I think it takes time, to dig through and be like, okay, well, I'm going to play this, but then I have to remember, like, okay, really focus on and see like what has changed and what hasn't.
It's a pretty tough question in many
ways. It's really difficult to just go to that place right now and be like, okay, well, there's so many basic things. That's like, obviously, old video games had to come up with the idea of a health system because games didn't exist, before then. So a lot of the things which are like patently obvious that games of previous generations started are the sort of things we just take for granted now.
Yeah, really silly example. Like if you talk about Link to the Past, and I think it's also this case in Link's Awakening and the Oracle games, is like respawning enemies, and you're just like, oh, why are they respawning all the time? And it's like, well, because they can't fit the memory on the card in order to make sure that they stop respawning. Right. And then it's sort of almost like a luxury in many of the 3D Zeldas where the enemies respawn less. And it's like, look, there's little things like that I do think a lot of people do take for granted, where that's less so the mechanical design, but actually the technical aspects of video games that has just progressed that actually massively changes the gaming experience.
Absolutely.
So our final email this week is from T-Bar, who's from the internet. Hey, MBZ and Bally, T-Bar here. After you guys were so kind as to read my review recently on the show, I thought it was time for me to finally send an email in. After listening to you guys rave on Earthbound and the latest Backlog Club, I was bummed I've been too wrapped up in my final year of university to participate. Can't wait for the next one. Hopefully I'll be able to play along. The question that I would love to hear you guys discuss on the show is this: if you could only play games from a single game series for the rest of your life, what series would each of you pick? My answer would definitely be Fire Emblem. It's my favorite game series of all time and has such a variety and multitude of games that I could never get bored with it. Plus the series is going strong right now and it looks like Nintendo will certainly keep making new games in the future. Also, the first TNL podcast I listened to on YouTube was about Fire Emblem. Honorable mentions for me would be the Zelda series, Metroid series, or Mass Effect series. Interested to see what you guys would choose. All the best, keep up the great work, T-Bar.
Well, thank you, T-Bar, again for reviewing us and for the email. Bally, there are obvious answers here, and then there are not obvious answers. What do you think? Where would you go? Like, as a gut instinct, you can only play one series for the rest of your life. Where does your heart lead you?
My heart goes straight here, and it's very simple. And it's because this is a series that does so many different things and reinvents itself within different engines, different ideas, and that is obviously Zelda. Like, I think it's crazy because all the games have aspects in common. They're all massive adventure games, etc., but they all, by and large, feel very different from each other, and that's exaggerated almost with what we know about Breath of the Wild. And the series is like T-Bar's suggestion about Fire Emblem is looking good going forward. I would argue Zelda is looking pretty great going forward as well.
It's
and
looking so good going
there
forward.
Are some great games coming in the Zelda series, and you just know that if you had to play something, it's going to be Breath of the Wild, isn't it? Like, that game is just going to... I'm getting too hyped to be before it even coming out, and we need to temper our excitement until it comes out. But surely it has to be Zelda. And I also think that in terms of spending time in the game world, as great as Metroid is, and I think that it's obviously some of my favorite games are Metroid games, but they're still... You use a lot more energy, I find, playing those games, because especially Metroid Prime, it's a lot more intense, it's a lot more on edge, and you're like, oh, if I had to play something for the rest of my life, like, I'm gonna wear out if I just play Metroid, because it's too eerie, it's too creepy, you know. You need, but Zelda, although it's got its creepy elements in some games, it's ultimately just a very enjoyable world to be in by and large.
Yeah, I echo your sentiment about Zelda being a series I would choose, but it would more be for the future of the series than the past. Because, as you have alluded to, Zelda is a game that, you know, often changes and does some weird stuff, and is always the series that I'm most excited for at the given time.
Yeah.
Right? Like, whenever there is a new game in a series on the horizon, if it's a Zelda game, I'll be just automatically more excited for it than any other series, you know? Like, it just has that ability to enchant me that no other series does. It has that excitement, and I think it's because, you know, we have a history of playing the old games and being very much in love with them, and I like going back to those games. But for me, if I was to choose on a franchise basis, it would more to be to do with the future of it than its past.
Yeah.
And I know that there's going to be very interesting stuff to come, because it's one of Nintendo's main franchises, and the day they stop doing it is going to be a sad one. But, you know, it's definitely very, very cool. I see, like, there are obvious answers here as well, which is like Fire Emblem, but for me, I don't know if Fire Emblem is a thing that I would choose, because at a base level, those games are incredibly similar, and there are deviations and subtle differences, but there is considerable potential for burnout there. And so I've been thinking, I was like, okay, so what is a series that I have played a lot of that I just really enjoy playing because it feels fun to move around and do stuff? And for me, I think it's now, and this is weird considering what I've just said about Zelda.
Where's this going?
I would say Castlevania.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is I was gonna go with Metroid because I love, exploring those places, and the Metroidvanias are the kind of games that them right up my alley. You have these big open maps that you can just go from place to place, get abilities, get better, get stronger, beat things. It's great. The thing with the Metroid series is I don't like half that series because they're in 3D, and I think those games are bad.
Gotta try.
And there are not enough of the 2D ones to keep me satiated. There are 6 of those games on GBA and DS alone for Castlevania. There's obviously Symphony of the Night. I've played the original Castlevania recently, which is very different, but also has those similar feelings, and is also one of those kind of difficulty spikes that I would like to conquer one day. And the irony about that is, I've said my excitement about Zelda is for the future. Castlevania has no fucking future because Konami have murdered it. But if we were to include Bloodstained, for example, and the legacy of Igarashi, then, there is potential there because he is going to make new games in that formula, and hopefully he will continue to make more new games in that formula.
You've sided with Castlevania over Metroid, but you're forgetting to think about all of the 2D Metroids that Nintendo are going to release in the future. And
yes, of course.
Is this not is that not the swing factor that could side with Metroid?
No, not really. And I would love to say that is the case, but I don't have the belief, Bally. It's not there for me. And
2D Metroid and Nintendo is such an unusual tale, isn't it?
It's an abusive relationship,
it's
really.
A very abusive relationship.
But yeah, no, the reason I would go with Castlevania is because there are so many fucking damn castles to explore, and I think that just going back through them again is enjoyable. As I've stated, I like that there's a crack-like nature to those games that takes hold. That's why I went back and finished off Symphony of the Night, and I played 2.5 hours 3 nights in a row, because I just can't. I have to make myself go to bed, Bally. I have to force myself, okay, I'm going to save in this room and then switch off, because I would never fucking stop if given the chance. I just can't stop. There's something about that formula that just has its claws in me, It's impossible.
In terms of that crack feeling in terms of games and playing more, I think that something as long as I can play with you, MBZ, I'll give you this. Something like Super Smash Brothers is just...
Oh, yeah, okay.
It's so timeless. It never gets old. I think that in the future, there's just going to be more and more characters, really. I think that in terms of a system, it can maybe get a bit more slick. I don't know. They'd have to really think about where they take that series in the future. But I think characters is a really simple one, and stuff like the Cloud announcement, that is so big. What that could mean for the future is mind-boggling. Who knows how much. And maybe it's a good time to mention what Phil Spencer said about working with Nintendo, and then, I think there was a NeoGAF thread Banjo's coming to Smash, and it's a few years ago that would have just been clickbait on the internet.
Totally,
doesn't mean anything. But now, with Phil Spencer saying something as positive as what did he say about Nintendo? Just they're a great company and have some of the best characters in video games or something, right?
Yeah.
So saying stuff like that, and we joked about this, MBZ. Could you imagine Nintendo saying, "Oh, Xbox are one of the best companies in terms of third-party games. They're real market leaders." They just never say something like that.
No.
So, but yeah, the idea of Banjo is a very real one now, and that's a really exciting time for a series like Smash Brothers to be in, and that could be something in the future that just gets even bigger.
Yeah, that's a very obvious one. It's almost too obvious.
Too obvious, especially for this podcast. But,
yeah, absolutely.
I think that's all we've got time for this episode 80, in terms of emails. But like I said at the top of the segment, please send in more emails. We always need more. The email address is thisnintendolife@gmail.com. That is thisnintendolife@gmail.com. Until our next email segment, I will say goodbye, but we're going straight into our third segment to talk about the Video Game Awards for 2016.
Welcome back, everyone, to the third and final part of the show. This week, we're talking Game Awards, not our personal ones, not any individual website Game Awards, but the Game Awards 2016, the Keighley's, as people like to call them, Jeff Keighley's award show, which I think it was 2 years ago he broke away from Spike and with the VGA mess that fucking was, and thank God for it, because I think over the last couple of years, Keighley has done a bang-up job. I think these awards are much more respectable, much better presented, generally a better time than previous stuff. Now, I know, Bally, that you have some trouble paying attention, staying awake maybe.
It's all like 4 in the morning, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. Were you in Brussels last time, or were you?
I was in London, and I wasn't working the next day or something, so it was fine to stay up. But it was this sort of carrot dangled that there was going to be like a Nintendo announcement, and there was Breath of the Wild footage. And I'm just like on Skype with you and we're watching it live, and I was sort of lying down because it was late at night, and I was like, oh, I can't sit up, I'm tired. And then sort of as the show went on, I kind of fell asleep about halfway through the show, and I think you were speaking to me like, Bally, and then I think you'd given up trying to wake me up. But then obviously at the end of the show was some Breath of the Wild footage, and you were like, Bally, you're missing Zelda, and I'm just like asleep, and then I wake up later, I think, and then I'm like,
I think after the Breath of the Wild stuff had finished, so you missed it completely.
Said, what happened? He's like, Breath of the Wild happened.
And you're just like, you don't even fucking pay attention, you're like, I'm going to bed, bye.
Yeah, I was like, I'm too tired for this, I'll watch it in the morning, and I literally went to sleep, then woke up and then watched the footage back. So that was great fun. I
do wish these awards were better timed for our time zone, but it's an award show, it's going to be in the evening, so
if it's in English, you gotta appreciate the biggest English speaking country in the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which of course is Scotland, but no.
yeah. But so anyway, Bally, we just thought it would be a fun segment here to run through the awards, the nominations for the Game Awards, and to give our predictions on what's going to win. And now, I think this is a very interesting process, because this is much more about analysing the games media and what they would choose, rather than what we think would win, or from personal perspectives. Because they are voting on this, ultimately. Apart from the fan choice stuff, there are like 25, 30 outlets, and this is across the world. Like, I think Jeff has asked people like Famitsu in Japan to contribute, people like Eurogamer, like, he's representing all the regions, essentially. Which is great. I think that's good and inclusive. And we're just going to run through every category.
We're going to have to go quite quick, because there are so many.
Probably, maybe spend some more time on some rather than others.
Yeah, definitely.
But I just thought it's a fun exercise to go through. So hopefully you'll enjoy. Not a lot of Nintendo representation, but still, I think it's an interesting talking point.
Star Fox didn't make it into anything.
No, Star Fox was not nominated for Game of the Year, Bally, surprisingly, somehow. All right, well, we're going to start off with Game of the Year, which is the first category. And the nominees are Doom, Inside, Overwatch, Uncharted 4, and Titanfall 2. Bally, what are your thoughts?
I think the winner will be Overwatch. I think that it's had the greatest impact on games media out of that lot, I'd say, just because of the amount that everyone talks about that game. And I've not played it. I'd love to try it if I had the ability. It
feels very Splatoon-like, doesn't it? It's like, kind of like this colourful shooter
with
that's
a twist.
Welcoming people in.
And Blizzard do new stuff so infrequently in terms of like new IP that is pretty exciting. And I think Overwatch might win. What do you think, MBZ?
I think it may be Inside.
That would be interesting, wouldn't it?
And I think that might be because there is such a critical buzz around it, and people always like an underdog story. It's sitting alongside these 4 big budget AAA games, and I think that Inside might actually take it from people just being like, that's actually, like, from a game design standpoint, it's one of the most immaculately produced things in the last 5-10 years. So I'm going to go with Inside. So the next award is Best Studio/Game Direction, which is basically the 5 studios who made the Game of the Years, apart from they didn't nominate Playdead, who made Inside. Instead, they nominated DICE. So Blizzard, DICE, id, Naughty Dog, and Respawn. Do you think that they'll do the double ballot? Do you think Blizzard will win this
I think it'd
award?
be weird if they won one but not the other, so I think I will go with the double for Blizzard. Yeah, why not? Overwatch is huge.
I actually think the reason this award is included is so that they can give a nod of the hat to the person who didn't win the award. So I actually think this will be won by Naughty Dog for the reason that Uncharted 4, not necessarily like groundbreaking, it's another Uncharted, but it's an amazing game and Naughty Dog put so much time and effort into it. So I think Naughty Dog will get the nod there. Just to, even things out, maybe give people a bit of a...
That would be a nice thing to do. I think it'd be a little bit of a shame if one game and company just walk it.
Absolutely, yeah. So next up is Best Narrative. The nominees are Firewatch, Uncharted 4, Inside, Mafia 3, and Oxenfree.
I played one of these games.
Amazingly, you did, Bal. You played Firewatch.
Yeah. I don't think it will win. I think I've heard amazing things about Uncharted 4's story. And obviously you loved Inside, and I've heard a lot of people. So I think it's between Inside and Uncharted 4. I think I'll side with Uncharted 4.
Yeah, I think Uncharted 4 will win as well. Firewatch was a divisive one, like more divisive than I thought it would be. And Inside doesn't really have an explicit narrative. Like, it's one of those games which doesn't have dialogue or voice acting or anything. It's very much
tells a story, right?
Yeah. It's like the sort of thing like I would read a novel in my English class where, hey, you can interpret this as you like because there's fucking lots of metaphors and shit, right? It feels like one of those video games. Mafia 3 people talked a lot about in terms of the narrative being very good, but that was obviously overshadowed by the fact that the game wasn't great. And I'm actually playing Oxenfree right now. I've only played about an hour of it, but that game got a lot of talk at the start of the year, and it's really cool so far. But I don't think enough people have played it, so I am going to agree and say Uncharted 4 is going to win Best Narrative. It's the obvious choice. So Best Art Direction is up next. Abzu, Firewatch, Inside, Overwatch, and Uncharted 4. So I think, me personally, I was probably most blown away by Abzu, surprisingly enough. I was actually kind of underwhelmed by Uncharted 4, as I mentioned on the show earlier. But I think, this is a really tough one. I think maybe Firewatch could take this. Because you look at that art and it's Ollie Moss and people love Ollie Moss's art and it's very beautiful. It's a striking look, and as much as these other games look great and people love Overwatch, I just think Firewatch might be the one that actually, because it's not winning in other categories, basically, people might feel sorry and put it for this one.
I think it's between Firewatch and Inside. A lot of people have talked an awful lot about some of the animation in relation to the art style of Inside.
Yeah. Man, Inside has damn near some of the best animation I've ever seen in a game.
But Firewatch looks great. So I think I will side with Firewatch as well.
And you have played it on a big-ass TV. Well, I don't know how big the TV was.
Very nice TV. I can't name the TV, I'm afraid. But
I mean,
big
can you ever name a TV, Bally?
What?
Can you ever name a TV?
Samsung.
Yeah, there we go.
And I had to read my own TV. But yeah, I think Firewatch has got a good chance.
So do you think that's what they're going to choose?
Yes.
All right, well, we're both in agreement there. Best music/sound design, which, if there's one thing I'll say to you, Jeff Keighley, please pick better categories, because alongside fucking best mobile/handheld, music and sound design are not the same thing. Yeah. They are so fucking different.
Like, if I worked on music or sound design, I'd be raging that these had been mixed into one thing. Like, my job as a sound designer is so different to a composer. I'd be livid. Like, that is just...
It's a cardinal sin.
Enraging.
So come on, Jeff, you can do better. So the nominees are Battlefield 1, Doom, Inside, Res Infinite, and Thumper. Bally, where do you think this is going to be taken?
I know so little about any of these games. I know that a lot of stuff was made about like stuff like Battlefield 1's sound design, and like it's so accurate, World War One and all this.
Right.
So,
I mean, Battlefield's always been praised for its like gun sounds and things like that.
Yeah,
so.
and if you're looking at in terms of let's keep EA happy and keep them in part of the awards, I could imagine.
Well, and these aren't being judged by the people who are being paid. This is games media who are making these award nominations. So I wouldn't necessarily say that that's
true,
consideration.
I even think the games media might want to keep EA happy.
That's a bit of an indictment of the media.
I don't know. I think Battlefield 1 might get it.
I'm going to go with Res Infinite because VR hasn't really had much of a shout aside from there's going to be a VR category, and people fucking love Res in a way that I never knew what Res was before people started talking about this game, and every time I hear people talking about Res, they say it's the greatest fucking thing on the planet, and that is an entire game built around music and sound, and just being inside it in VR I think makes a great case. So I think from that standpoint most people are going to go with Res, so I'm going to choose that. Next up is Best Performance.
With only 3 different games.
There are only 3 games. There's like multiple nominations from the same series. So we have Alex Hernandez as Lincoln Clay in Mafia 3, Cissy Jones as Delilah from Firewatch, Emily Rose as Elena from Uncharted 4, Nolan North as Nathan Drake from Uncharted 4, Rich Summer as Henry from Firewatch, and Troy Baker as Sam Drake from Uncharted 4. Bally, of course, you played Firewatch.
Yeah.
So
I obviously don't know enough about Uncharted 4, but out of those 2 Firewatch characters, I thought Cissy Jones as Delilah, like that character is great. So she's the main person who's always speaking to you on your, God, what do you even call it?
Com radio,
yeah, exactly.
Talkie.
And like her jokes are just fantastic, and there's so much sass with that character. And Henry's as Rich Summer as Henry is he's a lot more straightforward generally in like his character, but I thought Cissy Jones, I would go for that, I guess.
Yeah, I wonder if the nod will be given to her though. I think that given the situation, it's the last Uncharted game. I think
That's
Nolan North
true.
is going to take this one. I think I would give it to Emily Rose. I thought that her performance of Elena was really, really good in Uncharted 4, probably my favorite. But I think just the notion of this is the last Uncharted, Nolan has to go out on a high. It's his series, really. So I think they're going to give it to Nolan North. That's where I come down. The next category is one that Games for Impact Award, which is supposed to be like weird indie things that are doing different stuff, but I've heard of literally one of these games out of all of them.
I've only heard of that Dragon Cancer as well, and I don't even know much about it. So
I'll read the nominations: 1979 Revolution, Blockhood, Orwell, Sea Hero Quest, and that Dragon Cancer. And I don't see anything but that Dragon Cancer winning this.
Is Sea Hero Quest the one that copied Wind Waker?
No. That's fucking some other. I can't even fucking remember what that. Ocean Horn.
Ocean Horn. Okay.
Yeah, and that's not like fucking Games for Impact.
Yeah, I know.
Zelda clone.
That's like biggest steal of the year. Anyway, right? Yeah. No,
that Dragon Cancer is going to win.
Okay.
Because I don't think anyone else knows any of those other games. So, best independent game. This is Firewatch, Hyper Light Drifter, Inside, Stardew Valley, and The Witness. What do you think, Bally?
Like Firewatch is nominated for a lot. I'm quite surprised.
Yeah.
It could be Firewatch, but I think stuff like Inside is just made bigger headlines generally. I know that you absolutely love Stardew Valley. I think a lot of people in the media did love Stardew Valley, but I don't think they loved it as much as Inside, so I'm probably going to go for Inside.
I feel
Dark Horse, The Witness, though, maybe.
Yeah, I feel like The Witness actually is the one here that's looking more likely. It hasn't really gotten any nods anywhere else.
Yeah,
and neither is Stardew Valley, but I don't think Stardew Valley maybe hit as universally as The Witness. That really was just a big game generally at that time. Stardew Valley, like, if you're talking about a large community of people playing it, sure, but we're talking about the games media, right? So it's a very different kind of perspective. This is not a popular vote. So given the amount of awards Inside has been nominated for, I think this is where you give the nod to The Witness. So I'm going to go with that.
Yeah.
Now we come to the worst fucking category in human history.
Some of these
Best
nominations.
mobile/handheld game. how you can even fucking put Clash Royale in the same breath as Fire Emblem Fates. You can fuck right off, Jeff Keighley. You can fuck right off. I don't even. Okay, so the nominations: Clash Royale, Fire Emblem Fates, Monster Hunter Generations, Pokemon Go, and Severed. Pokemon Go is going to win this because people are dumb idiots, and
They'll be like, "Oh, it changed the world. It was incredible." But
for 2 months, great.
What systems was Severed on?
Vita. And then it recently came out on Wii U, and I
yeah.
really want to play that because it's Drinkbox.
Is it going on mobile?
I think it is actually, yeah.
But not
I think
yet.
it is.
Okay.
It might be on iOS already. I can't remember.
I mean, we both like Fire Emblem Fates an awful lot, but I think Pokemon Go is probably going to win this.
Yeah, Pokemon Go is going to win it because it's fucking Pokemon Go. And,
what a terrible category.
Anyway, best VR game: Batman Arkham VR, Eve Valkyrie, Job Simulator, Res Infinite, and Thumper.
Is Job Simulator the hilarious one where you're just walking around doing all this crazy stuff?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's like trying to make some food and stuff. I think a lot of people really like Job Simulator. I don't know. This is a hard one to call because like there's so few people out there, doing a lot of VR stuff. I think the obvious one is Batman because it's a big IP. It's fun. It's a really fucking stupid, dumb thing that you can throw Batarang around.
We absolutely loved it. It was so much
we
fun.
loved it.
Yeah.
So I think Batman's the one, probably.
Yeah, I think, it wins. Not just because it's called Batman, although that helps a massive amount, but it was quite a good experience.
Yeah, totally. So next up is Best Action Game. It's a category that I don't really...
What a weird category.
All these games are shooters. Why not just have a Best Shooter? Like... None of these games.
Everything's action when you look at that.
God. Anyway, nominations are Battlefield 1, Doom, Gears of War 4, Overwatch, and Titanfall 2. I think Doom wins. I think this is the place where you give Doom an award because everyone fucking loved Doom.
Of certain awards giving nods to games, I think you're right. Doom's not nominated for enough, and this could potentially be its time to shine. Although Gears of War 4 was quite popular, wasn't it? I don't know.
Yeah, people liked it. I think people love Titanfall 2 as well. I love Titanfall 2.
Yeah, I think that's going to get another award, but you're right. Titanfall 2 is very good.
But yeah, I think like the zeitgeist of how good Doom was earlier in the year and people didn't expect anything from it. I think this is where it gets its thumbs up. Next up is Best Action Adventure Game. Nominees are Dishonored 2, Hitman, Hyper Light Drifter, Ratchet & Clank, Uncharted 4, Thief's End. This is another weird category because I don't think any of these games are alike in any way. So, I don't know. What are your thoughts, Bally?
In terms of like giving a nod, I think this is quite a good category for something like Hitman. But I
would love if Hitman won it, but like
I can't believe Ratchet & Clank came out this year. That seems like such a long time ago. I mean, Uncharted 4 is probably the best game here. Whether it will win or not, I don't know. I think it will probably be Hitman.
I think if you're calling a category action-adventure, I'm not sure any game on this list fits that better than Uncharted 4. So from that perspective, I would say Uncharted 4, and it is, it's probably the most popular choice there. Hitman's a puzzle game, really. Like, I just don't see it like fitting here. But it's Hitman. Hitman's given me so much joy just from watching Brad and Dan play it. But that'll be that. Best role-playing game, a category which I'm not sure was really needed this year because we're having to really dig out the dregs to get any nominations. But Dark Souls 3. Deus Ex Mankind Divided, Witcher 3 Blood and Wine, World of Warcraft Legion, and Xenoblade Chronicles X, because last year it hadn't come out to be nominated. So I think that's what they're doing.
Just about to ask. It's a bit weird that there are no handheld RPGs here. Like,
right, Bravely Second came out. Like, there's loads of RPGs that came out this year. It's one of these things about Game Awards is they generally just snub handheld games for no
disgusting.
reason.
If that happens in the age of Switch, I'm going to be infuriated.
Oh, right, yeah, totally.
Maybe Switch makes that whole conundrum even worse.
maybe it does.
This is a tough one.
I think the popular choice is Dark Souls 3. I could also see Witcher 3. Yeah, Dark Souls is technically an action RPG.
Okay.
But I'd say Witcher probably takes it. Just everyone loves Witcher. I think Dark Souls, as much as a lot of people really like Dark Souls now, it still has a niche, more of a niche than I think Blood and Wine does. And Blood and Wine was such a fantastic expansion.
The DLC, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. Interesting that you can nominate DLC, but yeah, I think Witcher will probably win.
Yeah, I think calling Blood and Wine DLC is kind of an insult, I think, because that thing is like 25 hours long.
Okay,
it's a mammoth. So yeah. Moving on, best fighting game. I mean, Killer Instinct Season 3, King of Fighters 14, Pokken Tournament, and Street Fighter 5. No nomination for something Infinite Blasters Duel, which Austin and Jeff have been going on about on their podcast. But in any case, I think Pokken Tournament wins this, funnily enough.
Really?
It's been a bad year for fighting games. And Street Fighter 5 has had like literally the worst word of mouth ever. And no one's going to pick Street Fighter to win.
Yeah.
And I don't think enough people have played Killer Instinct or King of Fighters 14. Pokken Tournament is the most mainstream game on here. So...
yeah... Strangely enough, you're right. Pokken came out in almost a perfect year for it, didn't it? I've hardly heard anyone talk about these other 3 games this year at all.
I mean, I've heard people talk about Street Fighter 5 in the context of holy fucking shit, Capcom fucked this up. But other than that, no.
Exactly.
Like, it was a nightmare. But yeah, we don't really care about traditional fighting games. So, best family game, another dumb category. Dragon Quest Builders. Star Wars The Force Awakens, the Lego version, Pokemon Go, Ratchet & Clank, and Skylanders Imaginators.
What?
I think Pokemon Go wins this, just because, people are out there playing with their families. I would like to see Ratchet & Clank win it.
Yeah, I would like to see that as well. And if Ratchet & Clank does get one, it might be that.
Yeah. It's maybe
distinct lack of Nintendo in the family category.
I mean...
That's not the awards' fault, that is Nintendo's fault, because they have had a terrible lineup.
Yeah, it's been a bad year. Anyway, next up is Best Strategy Game. Nominees are Civilization 6, Fire Emblem Fates, The Banner Saga 2. Yeah, I know. The Fire Emblem seems to be the only one, apart from in the fucking mobile category with Monster Hunter. Total War Warhammer and XCOM 2. I think Civ 6 is the easy answer here, right? Like, it seems to be a solid sequel to a beloved game, beloved franchise.
If Fire Emblem Fates beats Civ 6, it'll be an absolute meltdown.
Yeah, no, but here's the thing. I think if Fire Emblem Awakening had come out this year, I think it would have had a bigger chance. But Fates just didn't have the splash that Awakening did. Awakening definitely really got a lot of people involved, and Fates doesn't seem to have done that as much in the critical circles. I would say probably commercially it's done just as well, if not better than Awakening. But yeah, I think Civ 6 wins.
Your favourite category coming up, MBZ?
I know, best sport/racing. The nominees are FIFA 17, Forza Horizon 3, MLB The Show 16, NBA 2K17, and Pro Evolution Soccer.
Numbers, years.
Yeah, I mean, welcome to sports games. Forza Horizon 3 is the obvious choice.
FIFA 17 did this cool thing where they now have the character models of the managers.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of cool. As like a Premier League fan, I thought it was a cool thing to do. Whether it's enough to win this category, I have no idea. But
no, of course it's not, because that's sport games in a nutshell. It's like, our big feature is you can now see the managers. Yeah. That's it. I think Forza Horizon 3 walks this. Like, it has so much positive buzz. Driving games generally are very easy to jump into. Like, if you don't know a sport, you don't know a sport, and you don't give a fuck about it. Like, and generally the games media don't really care about sports games at all, unless you're a specialist. So Forza is the very obvious choice, and I think it wins. Next up is best multiplayer game. Battlefield 1, Gears of War 4, Overcooked, Overwatch, Rainbow Six Siege, and Titanfall 2.
Is Overcooked that kitchen game where you're running around in teams and stopping stuff burning? And
it looks real fun. It looks really good. I've seen like multiple people play Overcooked, and it seems very, very cool. But I think Overwatch wins this category. It's been... if we're talking about multiplayer game of the year, like, consistently people are playing Overwatch.
We've not really given any awards to Titanfall 2 though, and if Titanfall 2 is left with nothing, I could see them winning this one, you know.
Yeah, I mean, like, for me personally, I think the multiplayer of that game is just sublime. Like, it is absolutely phenomenal. But the thing with Titanfall 2, it seems like more people are talking about the single player, which...
Yeah, whereas Overwatch has just dominated the chat of multiplayer this whole year.
Yeah, totally.
It came out fairly early in the year, didn't it, Overwatch?
Yeah, it was like March or April.
Much. Yeah, oh my god.
Everyone.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Well, the amount of Overwatch stuff we saw at Gamescom, actually, but...
yeah, no, dude, like, looking at those full-size characters that we were walking past in the Blizzard area, holy shit, they looked amazing.
Blizzard's section of that
it was almost a whole floor
it
that
was
Blizzard
crazy.
had.
Oh my god. Anyway.
Yeah, but Blizzard is one of those companies that I've never gotten into because I've never really been a PC player, but I should probably play some of their games at some point, because they seemingly Blizzard are like the Nintendo of the PC space, you know? Like, they have these really popular, recognizable IPs that people are just like such fans of. Like, I don't think there are many other video game companies that have the fervor and dedication that Nintendo do, but I think Blizzard is one of them for sure. So yeah, we'll see. Those are all the main categories. The rest are the fan choices. All the esports categories I'm going to ignore because, frankly, I don't give a fuck, and I don't think...
Hungrybox has been mentioned to play Smash Brothers.
Okay, well, I hope Hungrybox wins then.
Me too.
For best esports player, because I don't care about StarCraft or League of Legends or any of that shit. And so yeah, all the esports stuff, go look it up if you care. I frankly don't give a fuck, and neither does Bally. So the big three categories are Trending Gamer, Best Fan Creation, and Most Anticipated Game. Let's save Best Fan Creation for our final discussion, because I've got to talk about that shit. So Trending Gamer, the nominees are Angry Joe Show, Boogie2988, Danny O'Dwyer, Jacksepticeye, and Lyric. And Bally, we're showing our age, because... never heard of Lyric before this category. Didn't know who he was. Jacksepticeye I did hear about. He's an Irish person with like 14 million subs.
What?
And I know yes, I know. Bally, this is the age we live in. There are people with 20 million subs who you have never heard of before. Yeah. And that's not what YouTube used to be. I used to know every YouTuber who had over 1 million subs.
Surely they're going to walk these categories because they should get all their subs to vote for them.
Well, that's the thing, though, Bally, isn't it? Because last year, Greg Miller was nominated alongside PewDiePie. In any sane universe, PewDiePie walks that simply because he just says, vote for me. But he didn't. He didn't go out and get his fan base to vote for him. So the real question here is who motivates their audience to go and vote for them. Dark Horse is Danny O'Dwyer because I think a lot of traditional games people who follow the industry, the kind of people who would watch the Game Awards are the kind of people who know who Danny O'Dwyer is and don't know who the fuck any of these other people are, right? Like, and that's partly why Greg Miller won last year. That said, Boogie2988 does have a relatively tuned-in audience, and
but has he launched anything? Is he doing something new?
He's not, and I don't think that matters in the context of who wins because it's all about popularity. But I think Boogie is actually going to win this, and the reason is he's already put out 2 videos talking about him and being nominated in the Game Awards. And let me tell you, Boogie has a much bigger audience than Danny O'Dwyer and a much bigger reach than he does. And as much as I'd love to see Danny win it, I think Boogie's amazing and he's a great guy as well. So I think Boogie's going to win simply because he's actually talked about it. If Jacksepticeye even fucking drops a pin, we'll fuck off everyone else, basically.
It's over.
It's over. Like, if he says, if he's like, oh, hello everyone, just fucking vote for me, then, you know, like 2 hours later, you're all buried because it's a popularity contest.
Two
apologies
Irishmen.
For the, yes, 2 Irishmen, yes, for sure. So that's that. To be sure. And then before we go to Best Fan Creation, Most Anticipated Game.
Oh boy.
The awards.
The
obviously,
one we want to win is going to win, I think.
I think so, yeah. Well, the nominations are God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, Mass Effect Andromeda, Red Dead Redemption 2, and The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. You might as well eliminate all the other competitors. This is a race between Red Dead and Zelda. I don't think anything else has a shot. I would say Zelda, and the reason I'd say Zelda is because the only thing we've seen of Red Dead is like a 1-minute trailer which really didn't show anything.
Yeah, everyone was like, oh my god, this trailer's coming, and then they were like, It wasn't. Whereas we've seen so much of Zelda, and it's created a lot more excitement just because we've seen hours of footage.
Totally.
Great trailers, and it's doing new stuff. Everyone's pumped, and it's coming with the Switch and all of this stuff. So we'll see.
Yep, I think Zelda will win that. Although I wouldn't be surprised if Red Dead did, because people fucking love Red Dead, and no matter how little you show them of it, they're gonna say, "Oh, that's my most anticipated." So, whatever. It's a dumb award. The final category has been severely cut short, because now the only nominations for Best Fan Creation are Brutal Doom 64 and Enderroll: The Shards of Order, one of which is a mod of Doom 64, I think.
What got taken out, MBZ?
Well, Bally, Nintendo, as part of the Game Awards, have legal control over certain aspects of the Game Awards, which is why when Jeff Keighley went to my big man Reggie Fils-Aimé and was like, "Yo, Reggie, how about these fan awards for the fans? You fucking love your fans." And Reggie's like,
"I love the fans.
Jeff, I'm sorry, but these Japanese people, they're not going to let me. I'd love to, Reggie.
They've got me in handcuffs."
Jeff, he's like,
gun to my head.
Jeff, I would love to give us some fucking good PR for once. I would love it. But I'm sorry.
I've been trying to break away Nintendo of America from NCL for 5 years now, and I still can't do it.
Which you were shackled. So Project AM2R and Pokemon Uranium. Apparently Pokemon Uranium is kind of shit, so no one cares. The real tragedy here is AM2R, which is another Metroid 2 remake, which I played earlier this year. Yes, it clearly would have won. I don't think any of those other games had a shot against that game, because that game is fucking phenomenal. So basically Nintendo have removed both of these from the category. And this is problematic in many ways. It's unfortunate. It's a shame. It's just disappointing. Nintendo obviously within their legal rights to do this.
Unfortunately.
Because they can. What were you going to say, Bally?
Unfortunately, it's just really expected. I think with the award shows, you always have to step back and think, who benefits from award shows? And the answer is gaming companies. That they are the big beneficiaries, and Keighley has to get all of them on side and keep them all happy. And it's really, award shows are incredibly difficult to keep everyone happy, because everyone has to win something, otherwise it falls apart. If the same companies always win every single year regardless, it really falls apart. So you really need to keep everyone happy, because they're the ones benefiting and creating the show. And the risk of someone like Nintendo pulling out of this stuff would, I'm not going to say it would completely bring down the whole show, but it would bring down a big chunk of the show. And it's incredibly important that, as lame as it is... One of the
three major console manufacturers bow out.
Precisely. As lame as it is, you got to keep Nintendo happy. They're huge. It's Nintendo. And I feel really sorry for Keighley, but I mean, unfortunately, any of us in his position would do the same. And it's really just a bitter pill to swallow, but that's unfortunately the downside of the situation.
I mean, award shows are never really interesting for the awards anyway.
And this is really good for all the trailers in between. And like I said, the falling asleep for Breath of the Wild last year, but it was stuff like that is what gets the views, I guess. And then the extra award is it's just like a bonus sort of promotion of a game at the end of the year to boost a bit of sales before Christmas, isn't it? Yeah,
it's generally I really don't like the notion that an award show is basically controlled by the interests of the people who are nominated. It just feels like the most corrupt fucking thing.
But all award BAFTA's like this as well. And
every award show is. But ultimately, awards are fucking meaningless. At a base level, they're fucking meaningless. At a grander scale, they're a marketing tool, and that's the thing. It's they're gonna basically, whoever wins Game of the Year is gonna basically slap on all their video game boxes, winner of the Game Awards 2016. It's just how it works. And as lame and fucking dumb as it is, it's just, God, I really, it pisses me off, but I'm still gonna watch this fucking thing, aren't I? So I'm fucking the problem,
What if the fans could get together and create our own gaming awards, and we could actually have awards that awarded games with IPs in them?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm sure there are like many places around the web that do their own stuff and will recognize this sort of thing.
But
and you know, that's why I like going to places like Giant Bomb, because they are editorially independent. They're not reliant on any fucking games companies to control their interests. They just talk about the games as straight as they can, and give their opinions and make their choices, and that is ultimately what is far more interesting to me, you know, from a standpoint of these are people I trust and I know their opinions, and I am very interested in what they thought of the games that came out this year. And as fun as it is to like look at these awards and be like, that was a dumb decision, that game won. It's all about the pomp and circumstance. It's all about this Twitter snark, you know. That's basically what this stuff is. So.
Twitter snark, as bad as it is very entertaining.
Yeah, it's entertaining. It's ultimately like
great.
a form of entertainment.
Yeah.
And, you know, AM2R may not get its recognition, but let me tell you, it's fucking absolutely one of the best games that came out this year. So,
and you know that when best fan creation is talked about during the Game Awards, Twitter's only going to be talking about AM2R. That's all they're going to be talking about. And as much as Nintendo wants to bite it off and say, oh, we don't know what that is, what are you talking about? People engaged know everything about that game, and Twitter will represent that.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I do see the problem with Nintendo in terms of, and I really, really pity NOA, because in so many of the decisions, they just look like assholes. Like the YouTube stuff, like all this, everything, all the decisions that come from Japan that just make them look like the most heinous people in the world it's awful. Because, you know, you have a company like id who actually tweeted about the best fan creation and are like, hey, Brutal Doom 64 was nominated for this. Good job, guys. We love that you love our game. Like, and Nintendo basically ignore and shut theirs down. And that is just fucking... It shows you the way that Western companies versus Eastern companies react. And it's just a different culture, unfortunately. It's just the way that it's treated. But what are you going to do? You can't fucking change them from not being a Japanese company. So, there you go. That's that.
I'm sure it'll be a topic in and of itself again in the future of
totally.
How does a Japanese company like Nintendo integrate with the rest of the gaming world?
Yeah, making their system region free for one, that'd be nice. So hopefully that is a step, and that is basically going to close out the show. Bally, are you going to be interested in watching the Game Awards this year for some announcements? Do you think Nintendo will actually announce anything? Do you think they had leverage over Keighley to be like, well, Keighley, if you take these off, we'll give you a bit of Mario footage? You know, do you think there was any of that in the cards?
I think that will Nintendo show off anything potentially? Maybe not Switch related, because I know they're kind of stacking up that hype for January the 13th, right?
What do they have to show that's not Switch related?
I know, that's the question.
The Wii U version of Zelda?
It's tantalizing. I don't know. Maybe there will be something Switch related. Who knows? I think that, like, if I was Nintendo, I'd definitely sneak in a little sneaky trailer or something because like the amount of eyes on the Game Awards, it got great views last year and the year before. Like with a console coming out, you'd be mad to just hold off completely until January 13th, I think. But
there's also a story going around that Keighley has made a deal with a company called Tencent to kind of distribute this live stream in China, and China is a massive fucking market. Full of billions of people who, you know, it's an emerging video game place in the world, and getting it in front of those eyes is also probably a big thing. So,
interesting.
Where I'm looking forward to watching it. I'll probably watch it the day after because I've got too much to do right now, and it will be at like 3 a.m.
I'm going to catch up later.
Maybe I'll get to the 1st of December and be like, I want to stay up. We'll see. I'll see how it goes. Speaking of Game Awards, Bally, 'tis the season.
It's Game of the Year time.
It is. So how about you tell people what our plans are for the next couple episodes?
So we've done this last 2 years for sure.
2
Maybe
years.
in 3 years.
No, the first year we did just a plain top 3.
Yeah.
It was our like 3rd episode or whatever, so we hadn't really got into a stride yet.
But we're going to keep up our tradition from the last 2 years. So in our final 2 shows in December, so there's a show in 2 weeks' time. On that show, we will be discussing our top 10 games that we played this year that didn't come out this year. So we'll each do our own list for that, 10 games each. And then for our final show of the year, so episode 82, we will be talking about the TNL, the This Nintendo Life Game of the Year. So this is a combined top 5 where we will be discussing all the games we played on Nintendo systems that came out this year. And we will argue why we think one game should be the number 1 versus another. And it'll be an interesting show. It has been not quite as good a year, but
there's still a lot of games to talk about, I think.
There's definitely still a lot to talk about.
Especially on the 3DS front, and I think we've both covered quite a good breadth.
Definitely.
So we can discuss a lot of relevant things that came out, which is
We've left a few gaps this year, I'd like to think, and that's what we're always going to try to do. It might be a bit tougher next year with Switch, but we're always going to keep going and cover as much as we can. So that's lots to look forward to with the next 2 shows before the end of the year.
And speaking of the Games of the Year stuff, we would like to hear some of your Game of the Years, whether it be in the style of our first show, which is games that didn't come out this year that you played and you're like, oh shit, I finally discovered that Final Fantasy VII is really cool. Send those in. Send in the games that you did play this year, Nintendo, non-Nintendo, whatever. Any game that you played this year that you were like, that was fucking cool, I don't want to like award this or whatever. Send us your lists, all that stuff, and we will read them and take a look at them in one of the 2 shows coming up. And you can send those emails to our email address, which is, Bally?
ThisNintendoLife@gmail.com. That is ThisNintendoLife@gmail.com. Would love to read some lists out on the show.
It's always good fun to see what other people thought.
We don't want to just listen to ourselves all the time.
Obviously, because you've already listened to us this whole year, so you already know what the hell we're going to talk about. So, the end of the show, what do we got to talk about? We've got to plug ourselves, Bally.
We have a YouTube channel. Check it out. youtube.com/ThisNintendoLife, right?
Yes, it is.
Yes,
I got that URL.
Right. So make sure to check out that, subscribe. We've got lots of good stuff on there. Check out our Twitter account. We're almost at 400 followers on Twitter. It'd be great to get to 400 sometime soon. So that's at TNL Podcast. That's a great place to go to find out when the latest shows are on, when the latest videos are uploaded to YouTube. It all goes through that account. Of course, we need to mention we've got some brand new artwork.
Oh, yes, of course we do.
Oh, boy. So, yeah, brand new artwork on the YouTube channel, on the Twitter account, on our personal Twitter accounts, from Lizzie Dawson.
Yes, an amazing artist who was brought to our attention by the fact that she does sketches for the Giant Bombcast every week. And I looked at it and I was like, she is really damn good at drawing people and sketching stuff. And so we commissioned her to create an amazing piece of art, which is myself and Bally sitting in the King of Red Lion from Wind Waker with some microphones podcasting. And it looks damn amazing. You can see the full art on the Twitter profile. It is in a banner at the top, and we've also tweeted out a full link to it, as well as both of our Twitter avatars are now cartoon-eyed versions of ourselves.
We've now given away where we record the podcast, MBZ.
I know. No one knew before, but we are out on the high sea.
It's all out there now. Yeah. I could just hear.
If you hear any kind of water in the background, that's what that is all the time. It's not.
Seagull just took a dump on my head, MBZ.
Oh shit, man! Well, we better get out of here. The storm's
coming.
Better
get the Wind Waker out. Change the wind direction. Here
Absolutely. We go. Yes. Thank you for bringing that up, Bally. Because that was a really cool thing that recently happened, and we maybe will figure out a way to get that onto the show on the iTunes version. Although I'm not sure how to do that, so I'll look into it. But yes, you can find us on the internet, Bally. What are your Twitter accounts and Miiverse? You're all that shit.
I'm at Ballyman91. That's BALLYMAN91. That is also my name on the Miiverse. But like I said earlier in the show, I cannot post on Miiverse with bloody Pokemon Sun. So I might be playing a bit more Fates though. So look out for a bit of Fates Conquest, where I'll post a few things. So MBZ.
You can find me at Lordnbz, Lordnbz on Miiverse as well. You can find the show in many places. We're on iTunes, we're on Stitcher, and you can go and review us. We actually had a review recently from Gubstacular, my friend Gubs. From the old Pokemon days, who has given us some very kind words. Maybe we'll read that out next time because I'm unprepared right now. But yes, if you want to be a cool person like Gubs, then go review us because it really helps. Lets more people listen to the show and know that we exist. And I think that just about does it, Bally. We'll be back in a couple of weeks' time to talk about Game of the Year stuff. Very exciting. I'm so jazzed because this is my favorite point in video games. There's podcasts to listen to, all that great stuff. So things are happening. Things will continue to happen. So thank you. This is a fun thing. We like doing the podcast. We hope you've enjoyed it as well. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time with some more of this Nintendo Life. Thanks for watching, /listening, whatever the hell. Goodbye, everyone. The musical interludes used on today's show were Strolling in the Town from Dragon Quest VII, copyright Square Enix 2013, and a guitar cover of the trainer battle theme from Pokemon Sun and Moon, copyright Nintendo and Game Freak 2016. One sec. Fucking shuffle my pants.
The most important part of podcasting.
Exactly. Don't want your pants riding in your balls. That's not how we do it. Fucking not on this. Not on this show, Bally. Not on this show.